With a quick show of hands, how many people think it's alright to alter models for marketing? That's good. Now let's start by taking a look at some of my favorite parts about photoshopping models, the fails. So let's talk about Mr. Jeb here and his two different colored hands. This is a political campaign, and I can't even explain how this happened. Or moving on, how many people actually have cheekbones that are the size of their waist? I know that's not physically possible. So Jennifer Lawrence looks odd, and you wouldn't even be able to notice without the arrows pointing out that her waist is the exact same size as her cheekbones. Here's the issue. Photoshop should not be allowed to be used in marketing because it'll give people an unreal expectation for what models are supposed to look like. How can we help? I want to start a movement similar to the Me Too movement, where we post on social media to create awareness, and then with that awareness, we're allowed to get things done. Because when we start to talk, then people in Capitol Hill start to listen to us. And if we can get a movement large enough, we can do it in a couple of months, maybe even a year. So let's go on to what the problem is. Altering models leads to unrealistic body images, which can eventually lead to mental illnesses, lead to the use of steroids to look bigger. This is a tennis star who had his biceps photoshopped, and I don't know if you know the difference between, it's the same guy, but you wouldn't even be able to tell because on one picture he's got 22-inch biceps, and on the other picture he doesn't. Now, as I explained, it can lead to mental health issues, so let's take a look at the facts. 30 million people suffer from mental illnesses and eating disorders. Over 50% of those people that struggle with these eating disorders also struggle with anxiety. And eating disorders are the highest mortality rate of any mental illness. Now, I did not believe these facts are so insane, I didn't believe them. So I started doing research. I looked into the Mental Health USA, or excuse me, Mental Health America, the ANAD, which is anxiety, nervous, anorexia, and some other, anxiety and nervous and anorexia disorders, which is a movement that helps people get back to their normal lives after struggling with these eating disorders or crippling anxiety or depression and stuff like that. And finally, I looked into health and research to make sure all these facts are correct. And all three of these websites were able to vouch and give me a rough estimate of the same number. Moving on, let's take a look at some more facts. This is in the athlete side. This is more targeting the men. 40% of all teen athletes have used steroids. 11% of high school boys have tried steroids at least once. And 60% of people who use steroids believe that they're making the right choice when using steroids. Now, business people love to say it's all about the money. And they say when they're models, when they're physically altering or digitally altering their models, it's because they're all about the product. But in reality, if this was true, they wouldn't be altering models. If it wasn't about the image that the product is on, it would be a completely different story. And this proves that it's not all about the product. It's all about the way the product is shown off. So as you can see, it would be a completely different story if the model I have here had her face full of blemishes or had a couple extra pounds on her. People would look at the clothes different because it's the image. Now, how can we fix this? I think we can fix it by speaking out. We need a voice, and that all starts with one person. If we can have one person speak out and explain why this is a problem or how this makes them feel uncomfortable and explain why this isn't okay, that's all we need to start a movement. Then the snowball effect kicks in. And with the snowball effect, this can grow into a huge thing, just like the Me Too movement, where all it took was one voice, and then it led to millions of voices. Just like I explained, the snowball effect is a large part of it, and I keep going back to the Me Too movement. The reason for that is it's the most recent and the largest social media movement in history. And nothing has ever had the same social media impact because nothing has ever done what the Me Too movement has done. Now let's take a look at some of the facts on CBS News that they reported on the Me Too movement, it had 4.5 million reactions in the first 24 hours. That's unheard of. It has touched 85 countries that have over 1,000 posts from each country. And 1.7 million voices were heard thanks to the Me Too movement. So how do I want you to help? I want you to go on social media, and I want you to post something just like this, just like I did on my own Twitter account. Now, excuse the name, I was just campaigning in DC, so I had to hide all my active social media accounts so I could create a campaign account. But basically what this says is, when I was younger, I had a large snaggle tooth, and that means my tooth was not at the same level as everything else. And eventually one kid pointed it out, and I started to get self-conscious about it. So just like in this picture, I stopped smiling with my teeth. I just did a half-assed little grin. This was in every picture from when I was a child. And finally, I started to realize that looks aren't what matter. It's about how you feel about yourself and the confidence that you have. So I ask you guys to please go on social media, post something, post one thing you're self-conscious about, and use the hashtag #TheRealMe. One final look at the facts. I just want to keep models real. I want everybody to feel like they all have the same impact on it, and that no models should be allowed to alter themselves or change the way anybody else looks at them. And I want you guys to post on social media accounts, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, with my hashtag, #TheRealMe. Thank you very much.